This question's in, this is from a Larry, a different Larry. He says he divides the world into two groups. He says those that have someone else clean their bathroom and those that have to clean their own bathroom. He says this question is for the latter. Should we be saving our nickels? They are 75% copper and 25% nickel. They're always worth 5 cents, and with inflation could be worth more.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I wouldn't be buying them as an investment. The real investment is gold and silver. I mean, why go to a different venue when you got a lock, a certainty that gold and silver are going higher? Melody and I have said it over and over and over again for 5 years. When gold went back to 470, I said, you'll never see this price again. And I was laughed at. Of course, they were all wrong again. And that's happened over and over and over again. So you don't need to diversify. And I see morons like this John Nadler get on television and tell us how gold is going to $700. He has never been right about anything. Proctor was right once in 35 years, 40 years. It's not very good. He made a big hit during the 80s. Gartman, he's wrong on every trade he makes in gold. And that's because he's a mouthpiece for the government.
He was looking at a new ETF Junior Gold Miner ETF. It looks like a good deal until he came across the sentence, the fund may loan its securities which may subject it to additional credit and counterparty risk. And what do you think, Bob?
I know the portfolio, and based on that I wouldn't buy it. And because they're going to lend securities, I doubly wouldn't buy it, because what's happening is they're contributing to the short positions of the government or anybody else. Don't buy ETFs. I tell you over and over and over again, it must penetrate your thick skulls. Don't buy any of them, because they're all doing the same thing. And with GLD and SLV, who knows how much gold they've got? They certainly don't have what they say they have. It's impossible. They probably have 30 to 50% of what they're supposed to have. That does not apply to CEF in Canada. They have their gold and silver.
Find another question here. This is kind of a little bit off the subject. You have, according to Bloomberg, the former Mikhail Gorbachev, president of Soviet, drawing on his experience of military failure in Afghanistan in the 80s, said the U.S. can't win the conflict there and should begin pulling out its soldiers.
Well, he is absolutely correct. Period. And it's part of a distraction. And what are they going to do about the Chinese, who have some big mineral deals that they made with the Afghan government? And the Chinese are saying, hey, wait a minute, you can't go do that. The country's loaded with minerals. I wrote an article about, 6 years, 7, 8 years ago. I can't remember what the numbers were. But all kinds of minerals of one form or another. And oil as well. And so I think that's one of the reasons they're there, along with the tremendous profits that they're making in opium and poisoning people with that crap. I mean, this is the kind of government we have. The British have the same thing, incidentally, because they're involved in it.
This is in from Gary, and it's commentary more than a question. And he has today's date on. I'm not sure if it was just me on the air. We talked the other day about the bankruptcy laws and how everything is planned. And he says we were right on target the other day. They had this planned, and they changed the bankruptcy laws to catch the debtors a year later. So true, Melody. The whole thing is well-planned out event. Now put something else into your data bank. They dropped the M3 figures from their announcements a couple years ago. These figures reveal the total money strategy, which they don't want us to be thinking about. Total money supply is shrinking. Printing of cash has gone up, but it has been more than offset by reducing credit and dragging feet on making loans. And you can break in any time you want, Bob, if you want to comment on anything.
Well, it's a cash flow that you have to watch as much as the projection of the M4 or M3, as it's called in the United States figure. The last figure I saw was around 20%, and that was the flow figures. And that's more important than the actual releases by the Fed. And, it's let's lie about everything, and they lie about that. Now they don't even publish it anymore, which is M3. And as the gentleman cited, and but there's other ways that they're entering the system, and that is with monetization of these loans that they're cooking up out of thin air, and which I described earlier. And they're going to continue to do that until they can't do it anymore, because they can't go back. And this time they're going to get caught. And more people are finding out that something is amiss, and what and by whom. I wouldn't want to be one of these people, because when this thing comes unglued, the public's going to be after them like raving maniacs. They're going to hit them with a hatchet.
He goes on to say, he talks about the Glenn Becks of the world screaming, look at these money printing figures, inflation. As usual, he is not quite 100% wrong, but he's not 100% right either. He wants to forget to tell the public that cash money is not the only way we make purchases. In fact, most of our consumerism is done with credit cards. Now, why doesn't he talk about the obvious? Being the genius he claims he is, the answer is simple. He is paid just like your congressman. He would sell out humanity for a dime. In fact, he wouldn't have his job if he wouldn't do the dirty work for the system. The grand plan appears to Gary as a very long-range diminishing of our nation-state status. They have got as many jobs from the country, and these jobs will not return. There's nothing left for them to return for. As the baby boomers die, instead of a younger person getting the job, it will just be gone forever. In other words, total available jobs are shrinking due to the American economic activity being moved overseas. This the politicians doesn't want to talk about because it reveals the treachery of his legislation. On this Veterans Day, as these hypocrites honor those who serve, I ask you, if they really wanted to honor those who serve this country, why did they sell the country out for money?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace, and I've talked about it over the years. I belong to the American Legion. I didn't dare say anything to those poor souls. Most of them had about 8 holes in them. And we all got screwed.
Yeah.
But now we know who the enemy is and where they're coming from and what they've done. And, there's going to be payback.
And we are gone for the day. We're out of here. We'll be back on Friday. Tune in tomorrow. Until then, good night. God bless. Good night, Bob. Thank you.
Good night, and thank you all for listening.